On the second side, we're going to do a little bit more work here. Notice that this is kind of like what we were doing in the last problem. It just has no equal signs. It just says use the distributive property or combine like terms to simplify the expression. So this is actually less work on number 3 than the last problems. So this one, notice, got a number in front of parentheses with a linear expression. So we are going to use the distributive property. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times a minus 3x is a minus 6x. Same thing in B, we're going to use the distributive property first, then combine like terms. So negative 3, think of this now as kind of like a negative 3. Negative 3 times x is a minus 3x. Negative 3 times 5 is a minus 15. So that subtraction sign kind of is like a negative sign when you're doing that distributive property. And then we've got the plus 10. Now let's combine like terms. Our two x terms go together to a positive 1x. And our two constants go together. Negative 15 plus 10 is a minus 5. So x minus 5 or 1x minus 5 would be the simplified expression. Part C, we don't have any distributive property, but we do have like terms. So the three x terms, 5x, x, and a minus 2x would be 4x. And then we've got just the minus 8. In number 4, we have what we call literal equation. Remember, we've got 2 or more variables. When it says solve for s, that means to get s by itself. So this is 8 times s. So to undo multiplication, we're going to divide, cancel out the 8, and on the other side, you just leave it like it is. P over 8 is equal to s. All right, on the next one, solve for n. So if we want to get n by itself, first let's take care of what's farther away. On the other side of the fraction bar is the 2. So undo dividing by 2 by multiplying both sides by 2. So now you've got 2 times a is equal to a times s times n. And then we did a problem just like this in our review last time. We're going to divide. So all these are being multiplied. A times s times n. All those letters next to each other are being multiplied. So we're going to undo 2 of them by dividing, which will cancel those out, bring down what's left. And on the other side, we just leave 2a over a times s, and now we have n by itself. So those are literal equations. Remember, that's when we're working with formulas. Sometimes we rearrange the letters in the formulas to make it a little bit easier to work with later. Solving quadratic equations. Remember, we use SADMAP on these as well. So we have to undo any subtracting or adding first, but there isn't any. So we move on to undoing dividing or multiplying. This is a 5 times x squared, so we're going to undo it by dividing. 125 divided by 5 is 25. Bring down what's left, x squared. Then we move on to exponents. So this is new on these. We're moving on to exponents. So we have to undo squaring, remember, by taking the square root of both sides. So x then is equal to, remember, you cancel out the squared with the square root. The square root of x squared is x. Square root of 25 is 5. But you have to remember the positive and negative. X is equal to 5 and x is equal to the negative 5. Remember, the calculator just tells you the principal square root, the positive one, but you have to remember that there are 2 square roots of 25. Next problem. Again, we're going to use our SADMAP steps, so we're going to undo any subtracting or adding first. In this case, we do have an adding, so we're going to subtract 9 from both sides. That leaves us with x minus 3 squared is equal to 1. Then we're going to undo any dividing or multiplying. There isn't anything in front of the parentheses that's being divided or multiplied, so there is no step 2 there. So we're going to move on to the exponent step. We undo squaring by taking the square root, so that cancels out the squaring. The square root of x minus 3 squared is just x minus 3, so we'll bring that down. The square root of 1 is 1 and negative 1. So don't forget the positive and negative. Now this one, we do have a parentheses, so we still have one more step. We have to undo what's in the parentheses, which is a subtracting of 3. So we'll add 3, and now we have x is equal to 4, and negative 1 plus 3 is 2. So x is equal to 4 and 2. Part C, same process. Undo any subtracting or adding first. So we will add 100 to both sides. All right, that cancels that out. Let's see, do that in red here, let you guys catch up. I know I'm going through this a little faster, but we have done these problems before, so this is a quicker review. Hopefully you'll have time to still work on the test. 188 plus 100 is 288. And then we'll undo any dividing or multiplying next. So we're moving through our SAD map steps. So we're going to undo this 8 times x squared. Remember, you got to undo that next. So you got to take 288 divided by 8. And that comes out to 36. So x squared is equal to 36. And then we will square root. And you have x is equal to the square root of 36, which is 6, and negative 6. 2 solutions when you are solving with quadratics, usually. All right. Last 2 problems, rates and conversions. We've done this over the last couple days. You have a 5-gallon bucket. How many milliliters will this hold? Remember the process, we make a little chart here. So let's start with 5 gallons. Now we want to convert from gallons to something else. I'm going to make a little chart and say, okay, well, what converts from gallons to something else? Well, we've got 0.264 gallons is 1 liter. Remember, we're canceling out the units diagonally, top, bottom. So whatever is the top unit has to also be the bottom unit on the next one, diagonally. So we'll put the 1 liter on top and the 0.264 gallons on the bottom. Those units cancel out, not the numbers, but the units cancel because they're on the top and the bottom of a fraction. And so now we're left with liters. We want to end up with milliliters, so we have to go one more step. We notice that 1,000 milliliters is 1 liter. Once again, whatever the unit is here, diagonally we're going to cancel out that unit by putting that same unit on the bottom. Now in the next conversion, we know that 1 liter goes here, and then 1,000 milliliters, that's the abbreviation for milliliters, goes on top. Liters cancels out. Now we have milliliters for our unit, so now we can just go ahead and do our math, which means that we multiply across the top. 5 times 1 times 1,000 is 5,000 milliliters, and we multiply across on the bottom. 0.264 times 1 is 0.264, 264 thousandths. Since we have a number on the bottom there, let's go ahead and divide that fraction. So 5,000 divided by 0.264 is equal to a whole lot of milliliters. You've got 18,939 approximately milliliters. All right, last problem. Your civics textbook is 13 inches tall. Convert this to centimeters. Start off with our 13 inches, and we're going to convert that to something else, in this case centimeters. Let's look at our conversion. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. Whatever your unit is, remember, we cancel it out on the bottom, so that 1 inch part goes on the bottom. The 2.54 centimeters goes on top. Inches cancels out. Oh, this is a shorter problem. We got right to centimeters in one step of our conversion here, so now we do the math. We multiply across the top. 13 times 2.54. And that comes out to 33.02 centimeters. We multiply across on the bottom, but of course that's just 1. So that ends up as 33.02. Oops. 0.02, 33 and 2 hundredths centimeters.